Okay, so the title of this replay is this a better build? But I don't know whether you're asking if what your opponent did to you was better than what you did to him, or if what he did to you is better than what we've been talking about, or whether what you did this time is better than what you usually do. I don't know about any of that stuff. So, whatever, let's just find out what everyone does and talk about both builds, since I don't know which one you're asking about. This is the downside of Dropbox, right, is you only get one sentence to convey what you want from me. Whereas with email, you get a whole email. But I do like Dropbox better, it's much more convenient. So your opponent is doing a 2-1-0 tank push, which honestly I've done this a bunch of times, and it works pretty well. The big downside of it is that you don't get any air units. So you can get stuck. If your opponent has one tank on the high ground, you can't get up there without using scans. And if you use a scan and it tells your aircraft to use another scan, that's like $600 you just spent to get up there. So if you're asking if your opponent's build is something that you should look at and try, I would say that the 1-1-1 is better. There's no point in getting Marauders at all in an early push, so the Tech Lab isn't really helping you. He only used it to get Stim and Combat Shields. And Stim and Combat Shields are the type of thing that matters more the more Marines you have. But with only 3 Marines at a time and a bunch of money being spent on tanks, you're just not going to end up with a ton of Marines. So I don't know, I don't really like his build very much. Very much, very much. If we're asking about your builds, I didn't really look at your build, so let's do that now. This is this very standard 1 racks opening into 3 racks. I like to do it into 4 racks instead of 3 because, okay, good, 4 racks. Now you're getting some Marines. This is looking very normal. That CC should have more dudes queued up at it, but that's okay, you only missed for a second. These dudes are making Marines. You shouldn't really be queuing up this far on this one. What I like to do is as soon as the 4th racks goes down, I get double gas. And then you really try to get your first 100 gas to go into Stim, and your next 100 gas to go into +1, and your next 100 gas to go towards either +1 armor or nothing. I mean reactor cores. One thing to worry about with this build is that after a certain point, if you don't get reactor cores, your money is just going to get really high, because 4 racks is meant to be $1,000 a minute of production because you have 4 add-ons. But if you only get 1 add-on and then you're making Marines out of the racks that you got the add-on on, then your production is still 500 a minute instead of 1,000 a minute. And we all know from benchmarking that 500 a minute will bring you up to 8 minutes, but after 8 minutes, it's not going to cut it. So you've got half of your army at this watchtower. I feel like 1 Marine could have defended this watchtower much better than half of your army. But this allows you to spot the tank push coming, and this is so important, especially on maps like this. We talked about this before. If you get stuck with tanks right... Well, what the heck? This isn't the same map I thought it was. But if you get stuck with tanks here in range of this area, then you can't really push out of your base very easily. You really want to catch the tanks as they're trying to come up a ramp, stop them on a ramp. And especially against the guy who didn't get air units, that can be extremely awesome. Awesome. So if you look supply-wise, you're just almost doubling. You've got 44 workers at 9 minutes, which is crazy good. But on top of that, your army is not tiny. You've got a $2,000 army. So now he's going to lose vision on high ground as soon as the last army dies. And you're like, haha, you don't have vision. And kill all this stuff. And that's good. I'm glad you intercepted the tanks far enough. I hope that you were... that if you had to retreat, you wouldn't lose the game. From this point, you're still not putting reactors on these racks, so your money is piling up super high. And you're only getting a single engineering bay worth of upgrade. You don't have a factory going down. You're getting Stim pretty late. So, you know, it seems like you understood the general concept. You did the right kind of stuff, but you got thrown off by his attack. And you survived his attack, and now your income is so much bigger than his that there's very few ways to lose the game from here anyway. The transition from here is 3 factory, 1 starport, 6 racks, 7 racks, something like that. And that seems like what you're doing, so you're following the build quite well, doing the right things. Get your armory in time to get your +2 upgrade. You're getting a second engineering bay. This is perfect. Lots of tanks. It's good. You really want reactor cores on all of these, though. Your third command center needs to come when you're approaching 52 workers. You're on 61 now with no third on the way at all. Oh, it looks like you did have a third. I just didn't see it. So this is good. You got that at the right time. You just basically did everything right this game, man. Good job. So there was a short period of time, like when he pushed you, where you were pretty vulnerable because you hadn't gotten the reactor cores early enough, so your army size, like you had 800 bucks in the bank and your army size wasn't as big as you wanted it to be. But from then on, you've done all the right things. Siege tanks, double medevacs, lots of marines. Again, we've talked about this every game I've ever watched from you. You don't get enough production infrastructure. So you have the right number of racks. This is good, having 5 racks, but it should be 5 racks with reactor cores. It should be the equivalent of 10 racks. So you're producing marines 5 at a time when you want to be producing them 10 at a time, and that's bad. You also want a third factory. And once you get to 200 unit space, you can throw down a bunch more racks and take lots of expansions and stuff. The big reason that you can't attack him at this point, you're just kind of passively letting him expand and do whatever the heck he wants. So you don't have enough medevacs. You can't walk across the field with marines if the enemy has tanks, because, you know, those are tanks. Those are tanks. So you're doing a double medevac drop at the same time as siege tanks. You've got siege tanks all around in your position. All the tanks are done. The mushroom tanks while you're dropping. This all just came down to the money. You fast expanded. He one based. You beat his attack. You auto win from there. I didn't like how passive you were the whole time, but that's because you were spending all your gas on tanks. And that wasn't giving you enough to do anything. You weren't able to push across the field and attack because you didn't have medevacs to do drops with. And tanks are so immobile that if you take a big marine tank force and walk towards him with it, and you find that his army is too strong, you can't retreat because the tanks will all die to stim marines. So it makes it a lot harder to be aggressive. But I would have liked to see a push out to take his watchtower instead of your own at, you know, like whenever you got started your third. So like right now would be good. So you have this army that's, you know, 50% larger than his army, and he's allowing you to take the whole map all the way up to here. So do it. You know, he lets you do it, then do it. But, you know, whatever. When you have a huge economic lead, defending while you secure a third and a fourth is a perfectly valid way to use it. You just got to be really wary about maxing out with marine armies. In all three matchups, if you max out on marines and your opponent maxes out on something other than marines, you're going to be losing. Because marines are awesome in lower unit counts, but once you maxed out, they suck. So this was great. Good job in everything you did.